Hi and welcome to Movies Suck. Today I'm reviewing Six Underground. First off, I have to say that the only thing about this movie that attracted my attention was Ryan Reynolds, a man who seems to live comic action, as it just comes to him so naturally. He is one of the few actors working today that manages to be interesting in almost any role he takes, though there should be a warning label on Detective Pikachu, letting unwary viewers know that even Ryan Reynolds can't make it fun to watch. For a made-for-Netflix movie, the production values are very high, way higher than you would expect for something like this. That is to say, a film that didn't have a major theatre release. It's not hard to believe that they spent $150 million on this movie when you see how competently created it is. They even have Michael Bay directing, which I wasn't surprised to find out, as this movie has just about as many explosions as your average Transformer movie. It has that slick Michael Bay feel to it, as though they had to make up for a really ropey storyline. Speaking of story, this one can be summed up as smart rich guy decides to fight unfightable crime, like, say, an evil dictator, by forming his own X-Force. Man, I even did the arm action there. Did I say X-Force? I meant, team of mercenaries. And that really is pretty much the complete storyline. There is some more stuff about faking their deaths so there's no comeback on any of the team's families and acquaintances, or even other team members, should anything bad ever happen to them, but that stuff really is pretty much irrelevant. The movie opens with a crazy chase scene that feels too expensive for a made-for-TV type film, and once you realise that this movie cost about as much to make as your average James Bond movie, you start to feel, as I did, that they really do seem to have overdone it. It's just too big and too expensive for what you have story-wise. It should have had the feel of a Mission Impossible film. I mean, it costs the same to make as Rogue Nation, but it still has that kind of made-for-TV vibe. I felt like it was a very, very expensive pilot for a new TV show. That said, I hate to admit that I kind of enjoyed this movie. It wasn't boring to sit through, and Ryan Reynolds was as fun to watch as ever. His little jokes were both very welcome and kind of out of place at the same time. The rest of the cast does very well. They are obviously very progressive and international, yet in this movie it doesn't feel forced or out of place. As said, the production values are very high, and that goes for the talent of the supporting cast too. As I said, the story is very throwaway, so there is no point in expecting too much from it. The bad guy is your typical run-of-the-mill foreign dictator that we have seen many times before. He is evil and he kills indiscriminately with no care for civilian lives. In fact, he thinks that civilian deaths help keep the populace in line. Amusingly, the grand plan of the rich guy, Ryan Reynolds, is to substitute one dictator for what's essentially another, more popular dictator. It's hard not to laugh that he doesn't seem to realise that he is doing this. Yes, the new guy seems much nicer than the old guy, but that doesn't mean he'll stay that way after he is given absolute power. After all, as John Dalberg Acton said, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, the question is, do I recommend this movie? And my answer is, yes, I can recommend this movie as a way to kill a bit of time. It's not a great movie, it's just watchable, and while it has its moments, they're too few and far between to make this a really good movie. But, if you're bored, why not? It manages to stay just interesting enough for you to finish it, but not interesting enough to be worthy of a second viewing. Not unless you're holidaying in the Alps and you find yourself snowed in with just a TV, a video player, and an option of Six Underground, Charlie's Angels, and, well, Terminator Dark Fate. Then it becomes the best of a bad bunch. This is Movies Suck signing out. Leave a like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.